Somebody else who's just trying to join. That's everybody, Jason, in a minute.
Are they all? Are they in now?
Yeah, they're all in now, Jason.
In. Okay, shall we start them? Okay. Thank you, Emma. Warm welcome to everybody for the First Amenities Committee of 2021. Happy New Year to the three members who are watching from the parish, and hopefully this also see the year. As the year progresses, we'll see plenty of actions carried out. So we'll start the meeting with public speaking. Is anyone who's wishing to speak publicly, Emma?
No, nobody's told us.
Okay, smashing. So that's number one. Number two, apologies for absence. I don't believe that we need any of those.
No.
So number three, active travel grants. Anybody like to start on this? Emma?
This was, you asked obviously for this to be deferred, but we've had some very long meetings, haven't we? So this was obviously quite a while ago, but now I believe this is all done and kind of dusted now, the dates, it's all been done. So I don't think there's much we can do with it.
Okay, so we'll move on. Yeah. Thank you. Number four, cycle racks.
I just wanted to report to you that you may already know, but I did speak to the Conservation Area Officer and obviously planning at High Peak. Now, obviously, there wouldn't be an issue with having cycle racks on the marketplace if we want, because obviously it'd be permitted development. However, we could only put them on land that we own. So I believe I passed this, and Sue's passed it on to Lindsay Weston, who's been doing, bits and pieces. I believe she's going to take it up because we don't own any land on the marketplace.
Oh, right, okay. So we've got Chris. Chris, please hand up, Chris.
The list that we came up with, we're not putting one on the market, but we're going to give one to the cafe there because they got lots of bicycles. But it'll be one they can take in at night. But the idea was to give it to the cafe for them. So we won't own it. It would be their they'll be told it's their responsibility. It's effectively gifted to them. So I'm not sure that this applies, to be honest.
So we were going to get one of these racks and give it to the cafe. Now, if the cafe don't own the land outside of their premises, can they put it there?
Obviously, we've got to approach them, but the thing is that it would be just like it could be their responsibility what they can do. If you know what I mean, we are passing the responsibility on to them.
Yeah, I understand that. I do remember that. Thanks, Chris. Stuart?
I was just going to say there's 2 points to this from our point of view. One is for our costs, obviously, for buying the rack and doing that, which is fair enough. But also, they would then come under the rules of the Borough Council because of street furniture, like that they put their tables and chairs out there and take them in at night or whatever. They'd need whatever permission the cafe needs. So, yes, it would become their responsibility to deal with that.
I'm sure the borough would look kindly on it because, the alternative is the current situation with cycles strewn across the flags.
Yeah, I understand. Stella, do you hand up, please?
Yeah, I was going to say I wouldn't mind looking into having one and putting one because the High Peak Borough Council have said I can put chairs out and everything, but I've got to keep 2 metre distance because they don't own the land, so they can't stop me. So I could probably put a cycle rack out and bring it in at weekend. Do you know what I mean? And have one.
Are you suggesting rather than the cafe?
No, both, because sometimes it's 16, 18 bikes. The only thing is a cyclist will not leave his bike if he cannot see it. If he's in the cafe, he needs it at the front or at the side so he can actually see it.
That's understandable. Okay, so
I'm just going to point out to you, I know this all came from Derbyshire County Council originally, but if you're going to be gifting cycle racks, we've actually already got 2.
sorry, Emma, I missed that.
We've already actually got 2.
Have we?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody gave me 2 last year, and obviously I've not actually put them anywhere because of the permissions. So they're actually there doing nothing, and we've got to anyway. So we may as well pass them on.
Okay, well, just before we move on and finish this one, Stuart, I did ask. Did you say that you was going to speak to somebody about these cycle racks at the meeting? In
No, so from that is what Emma's done. That's where she's got the information that we don't own the land to be able to put them on.
Okay, well, thank you, Stuart. Chris?
We sent a list to Lindsay Wetton, which is the regeneration funding.
Yeah.
And she asked us how many we wanted, and we sent her a list of how many permanent ones, and one of them, the market one, would be a movable one. And we sent her details of our preferred locations. I mean, I thought the question is we'll just turn up, deliver it sometime. You know, I thought that was the present situation, and then we deploy them, but I thought they were effectively on order. Have we had any? Can I ask through the chair if we've had? Have we had confirmation whether they're sending them up? Because basically they just asked us how many we wanted, and have we told them? You know, have they said they're going to send us that amount?
I've not had anything back off Lindsay. No.
Do you think we're best chasing Lindsay? No.
Okay, so I'm just going to step in there. So okay, so what we're going to do then on this one is Emma and I are going to get together at the beginning of next week, and we will drop an email up to the relevant parties, and we will communicate to the rest of the councillors where we're up to and how we move this situation forward. Everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. At number 5, tram lines.
Yeah, this again was one that was deferred that you'd asked to. You asked me originally to put it on, Jason.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, okay, right.
Yeah.
So this was something that I wanted to bring to the council. But there were 2 issues really, wasn't there? There was one that we had illegal access by motor vehicles along damaging the tram lines. And one moment, Chris.
In the waiting room, if you fit, please. Probably best.
Emma, can you put Chris in the waiting room, please?
Yeah, hold on a minute.
Thanks. To be fair, Chris, I don't think we needed to do that, but okay, he's done, so that's fine.
Yeah, because you're not talking about that, are you?
No, we're not talking about that as such, but okay, but if he's happy in there. So we had illegal access by motor vehicles along the tram lines. We received some communication asking us if we could fence it off, and we can confirm that has now been fenced off. So access has now been stopped. Thanks very much to Chris played his part there as well. So thanks very much for that, Emma. And the second part is that I have a desire to see the wall rebuilt and the tramway cleared, and hopefully to take it back to what it may have once looked like in the future. But to do that, I think there's quite a bit of work needs doing. And my thought was if it's raining and we can't get in the park, or is it possible for the park keeper to drop back down there and see what work we can do to tidy it up? Anybody got any thoughts on that?
I mean, I think.
Well, I'd like to Phil's opinion.
Phil?
Do you mean the original wall?
Well, I think, like I said in the last meeting, I mean, the first thing we need to do is to get the wall put back, because you're going to have to go down. We're going to have to go down there with a digger.
Yeah.
To scrape it all back.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to, if we're going to do it, then we need to do it properly, haven't we? So, I mean,
yeah.
It wants to go. It wants to go the full length, doesn't it? To where the industrial estate is.
Yeah, that would be my desire. Yeah,
I sort of suggest, well, maybe getting. I mean, it's going to take a digger, no matter what we do. Mm-hmm. It's a quite old stretch, isn't it, from one end?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So,
But
you know,
I think the first thing I had to do, Phil, was would you have any objections on dropping back into that? I know you're already busy as it is. But is it something that you could squeeze in if you was rained off somewhere else?
well, I can't really see what we could do without a digger, really.
Well, yeah, I know. But if we got you a digger, is it something that you could do?
Oh yeah, I mean, we could scrape it all back. You know, scrape it all back and see what's underneath.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Stella?
I was saying, when I had a customer in, and I just asked him how much it had cost, not with labour, but he says you're talking about £90 a metre to get the stone to build the wall.
Yeah.
So is it worth looking how much it will actually cost and see if we can get any funding from anywhere, because it's an historical place?
Yeah, it's a fabulous idea. So, Stuart, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, yes, please, Jason, on this one. Just while we're talking about this one and what Stella said about the price of the wall and doing it, because it's been all flattened and you can't really see officially where it is, I was wondering whether or not, which would be something Phil could possibly do, whether we should actually just mark out the boundary where the walls should be with some posts or with some wire or something like that. I know it's only a temporary sort of measure, but it would actually demark where the wall should be put. You know what I mean? Whether we should actually be looking at something like that temporarily so that we don't lose the line of where the wall is or should be.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Yeah, Nigel?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. That what we don't want is when the wall is rebuilt, for part of the tramway to be stolen by, well, to go missing to a neighbouring property. But what I was going to ask really is that still there's this concern about the planning permission of that next door is applying for, and as part of that they were talking about rebuilding the wall. So I don't really think that we should be committing to throw money at it until we see whether someone's going to do it for free.
No, I think it's a really good point, that, Nigel. A really good point. And that was never my intention, really. I mean, I have my own views on who should pay for the rebuilding of that wall. However, as we do know, we have had advice that left us, you know, with an uphill task in that respect. My concern would be to open it and try to get the other side of the line opened up so that we got a nice area for people to cycle along, to walk along, and with a view to other projects that hopefully may happen after May next year, make it a nicer area. Stella?
When I've been down there, I've noticed a temporary fencing of the other people that have got the businesses has moved over onto the tramway, so that does need moving over. And also, haven't they actually got back to us and said there was hardly any wall there? So basically, they're not doing it. Something.
Okay, right. Well, again, what I'll do now is in early next week I'll touch base with Emma again, and we'll put an action plan together and report back to you. And hopefully, if possible, these amenities committee meetings can be a monthly or at the very latest 6 weeks moving forward into this year, because I think there's lots of things that we need to achieve, and I'd like to hit them quite quickly. So are you okay with that, Emma, if you and I get together one day next week and try and work out an action plan for this?
Yeah, I'll be here Tuesday to Friday.
Tuesday to Friday. Smashing.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Stella.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you need any help, you know where I am, because I'm not doing much only on a Monday. So if you want any help going down there and
always want help, Stella, from you. Always, you're a diamond. I will take you up on that. Thank you very much. Can we get Christopher out of the jail, please?
Let me bring him back.
Welcome back, Chris. Number 6, planter locations and commissioning.
Yeah, again, this was another one that was deferred. So we briefly touched on it at the last meeting. So we've got these planters that are under the annex at Town Hall, the self-watering ones. So you need to make a choice, a real definitive choice as to where you want them to go, because obviously if I need to apply for planning permissions, and obviously speak to Derbyshire County Council, then I need to do that before they can go in. But obviously they've been sat under there for a while now.
Yeah, Nigel?
So we're going to come to correspondence later, but there was one request in there for a bench to be placed on the corner of Old Park Road.
Yeah.
Can I, and the reason why the person was asking for a bench to be put there was to prevent cars parking on the pavement on the corner. Can I suggest that instead of a bench, which, you know, might produce its own problems, we put one of the planters there, which, you know, would be a bit of a hindrance for people wanting to park on that corner.
Yeah, that was my opinion.
Chris?
I did do a plan, it was a couple of months ago, and of suggestions. It was suggestions. The one I would like, and I know it's problematic, is on the Triangular Island near the Wanted Inn. It looks so, it just needs a bit of TLC there, but if we could get, say, the pub to water or look after it or something like that, I just think it, obviously we'd have to ask them, but I just thought that's the thing. But we were looking at trying to, obviously near a lot of the welcome to chapel signs. Some just, it won't work. Some are pretty verdant already, and and obviously we're looking at we're looking at the outlying areas like the Voles and that. It was slightly difficult to find places because someone like, for instance, like Coombs, it's very, very pleasant there. The pub's got loads of big stuff and that. But anyway, that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, smashing. Could I ask Stuart, please, in your role as a county, is there any issue in us putting a planter in the middle of a roundabout?
Right, I was going to say yes. There's two or three issues with this. Number one, where you're saying on the end of Old Park Road, which is the wide pavement there, that used to have the phone box on it. I'm presuming that's where you mean, yeah. Nigel, that correspondence that we've had. Well, that would still come under Derbyshire County Council as highways because it is a public footpath. You would still need permission to put it there. That was why, obviously, there was a phone box and there was permission. And I do know that some of the neighbours there asked whether that could be a parking bay for 2 cars, and the county said no as such. So they might be more willing to have a planter there that uses the space up, like you say, to stop the antisocial behaviour that goes on there and that. So I think we would need to apply for that one. The other question, whilst we're on with this, talking about speaking to county council in the respect of, did we ever get an answer about the one on Long Lane where it goes on to the estate there that we were going to replace, because that was on highway land, with it being the grass verge as well, where there was the ready-made planter that Phil sort of had to take to bits because it was not being looked after. And then onto the one where Chris is speaking about up at Sparrow Pit, because it's not just county council highways, it comes under Highways England. Then if it's where there's street furniture and around an island, like he says, if it is likely to come under health and safety because of if there's an accident, or if it's an accident black spot, or if it could cause damage to people if they had an accident, there is risk assessments that they have to do. So yes, we would have to ask county on that one as well. So yes, we would need to be in contact with county about these positions.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. So what I'm taking from there is a couple of actions that, again, for myself and Emma, we will contact the borough and Derbyshire County Council to check for everything that we need to check. Given the time of year, this one is, I don't think we're in a rush to get it out in January, but we'll need to get it out there for the growing season. So we'll make some inquiries this week. And if any of you have got any further suggestions that you want to get into us, please. Stella?
Where the benches at Chestnut Centre? What about having one there?
Again, that's Derbyshire County Council's land, so you'd have to ask
Right.
them. Yeah.
I know we have a bench there that's ours, so I didn't know. Right.
No, the bench has been removed, Stella.
I know it has. So is it going back?
No, because we haven't got permission to have it there. It's highway land, and it's what they don't want things like that on it. That's why they put stones round, big rocks round it, because of mowing it and looking after it.
Okay, thank you. Right, okay, so Emma, we'll add this to our list of things that we need to discuss on Tuesday.
So that's three. That's sort of three of them. I believe there's 8. So I don't know if you want to, or
Yeah.
I don't know, have a think, or if me and you want to have a think and then put a suggested list out. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. So what I've just said to the council there is, if you have a think about it yourselves, come up with any ideas, let's throw it into the pot and let's find some suitable locations in time for the growing season. What about you, Phil? Have you got any ideas?
Not really. It's a difficult one, isn't it, you see, because we don't actually own that much land sort of around the streets and that, do we? So, I mean, the obvious ones is the green signs, isn't it? We could put. That's going to take one on each side of each sign, isn't it? Or maybe on the roundabout. Well, if we're allowed to, maybe on the way in past Aldi. That seems a bit of a grey area there with nothing there at all.
But it's something that we need to discuss, Chris.
2 things. Let's just start, but we were getting some feedback from Paul's microphone. And the second thing is I just resent to everyone the original list of my thoughts from a couple of months ago with all the pictures.
Thank you, Chris.
Just to print this.
Appreciate that. Right, okay, so Emma and I we've got things to be getting on with this week. So are we okay to move on to number 7? And then we'll report back at the next one. 7 is grit bins, Emma.
Yeah. So, as you all know, because I've sent you some out, we've had quite a few requests for some grit bins. But obviously they come from Derbyshire. So I don't know how you all feel about them. There's quite a few. There's Outram Way. There's Eccles Terrace in Whitehouse. And then we had one from somebody who'd been volunteering at the doctor's, but the doctor's car park is owned by High Peak, so I don't know.
Thank you. And I've got 3 people that are hand up. Stella, we'll go with you first, please.
It's Derbyshire County Council that provide the bins, and we said we would fill the one that we spoke about in the full council. So why all of a sudden does everyone think it's the parish council's responsibility?
Would you like to answer that one, Nigel?
Yeah, I think we've basically opened the doors to it. That in the past, they've still said the same thing. It's just we've been unwilling to fund the filling of any of them, and so none have been put in place. So now that we've said we'll have one in the wash, I think we're going to get lots and lots of requests like this.
Chris?
There is a budget meeting. We did put some money aside to sort of for grit bins. Now, what we've got, obviously that's got to be ratified yet, but let's assume it does. We then need to find all the possible sites and to choose the best ones within that budget we've got available. I mean, in my ward, there's not a single grit bin, for instance, anywhere. But there is a site that shows you where all the grit bins are as well, and I'm happy to share that near the time. But we need to just get this ratified, the allocation, and then say that'll pay for X amount of bins, which are the X most needy places.
Yeah, smashing. Thanks, Chris. It's a great idea. Shoot it first, then Nigel, please.
Well, I'd just like to give you a little bit of an update because I know I was against the grit bin at the wash and everything when we voted on this one, and I have been in the past because of knowing what's happened with them getting damaged and the problems they've had, and I knew it would open a floodgate for people to come and ask for things. I've been in my house 37 years and I've never known them come down and grit yet, so in our cul-de-sac, so there you go. But this week I have seen them out and about, and I do happen to know the lady who asked for the grit bin up at the wash that we said yes to, because she spoke to her neighbour, and the neighbour gets some delivered to near their gate hole to make life easier for them. They haven't got a bin, but they've just got a pile of grit. They have actually been up, and the lady who wanted a bin has actually now got a pile of grit to be able to use in the interim while we're sorting this out. And also, where you come down from Dove Holes to Barmaclough roundabout, where you can go back up onto the top, so the top of Ashbourne Lane, where you go over the railway bridge, where it's like a double S bend over the bridge, which is an awkward slope and a piece of road. On that corner there used to be a grit bin, which actually got vandalised, damaged, and all the rest of it. And all the county do now is put a pile of grit there. And actually, as I came down, I think it was last Wednesday, they were putting the pile of grit there ready for this winter weather that we're expecting. So the part and parcel to this is they are willing to put a pile of grit if it's somewhere that's a necessity. So if anybody's really, really bothered in that, while we sort this out, by getting in touch with county, I am sure they could have a pile of grit while we decide where the places are and whether or not the county will allow it on their highway land for us to put them there, because it's not going to be a quick and easy fix.
Thank you, Stuart. Before I move on to Nigel, I would just say though, from somebody, I think it would be unsightly if we was to suddenly start dropping piles of salt grit everywhere. I would much sooner see them in a grit bin. Nigel?
Yeah, one of the requests that we got was from Mrs. Bowden of Rose Bay Estate. I mean, she lives on Mayflower, but the whole estate has no grit bins. And I
doesn't need them.
That is essentially the fault of the developer and High Peak Borough Council in putting together their Section 106. But they've got £40,000, which is scheduled for road safety improvements, and which we can't find, and has disappeared into the clutches of Derbyshire County Council. The residents in Rose Bay are just pulling their hair out. There's money there which should be spent on their roads and which hasn't been. I think the least that we can do is write to Derbyshire County Council saying, where's the money? What's it being spent on? And could they have a few grit bins, please?
Emma, is that something that we can make happen, please?
Yeah.
Okay. My take on grit bins, though, is that I've listened to what everybody said, and yes, well, I appreciate that we might have opened the floodgates, but I think each grit bin has to be discussed and on merit. Now we can't as a parish council say every grit bin that is ever applied for is going to be granted. There has to be exceptional circumstances, and I think there's a happy medium between providing for everybody and providing none, which is where we're at this moment in time. And I really liked Chris's wanting to put £2,000 into the budget to support this. I think it's a wonderful idea. I know, Stuart, you raise your eyebrows at times to it. I do share your concerns, but we know the decision not to do these was made X amount of years ago. Chapel's doubled in size, and with it, the problems that come with it. Stuart.
Well, my problem with it is on some of it is the criteria that goes with it because of planning and sitting on planning and everything. When you're talking about new estates, yes, I quite agree with what Nigel's saying. Some of these things should have been asked for at the development of the estate. if that's what the point of it, that the planners should be planning, that the builders put it in or whatever. The biggest problem I have with it is that when they're talking about it and it comes through the highways department at county, if you're looking at an estate that's virtually flat, they're saying, you know, tough in a way, that it's a flat estate, no problems, you get on with it. The main places are what they look at is, and I must admit, it's like Chris saying about Sparrow Pit with the corner there. When it's on rising land and you've got inclines and what have you, where it's going to actually collect water or snow and become icy, they are the more viable points, because that's where the accidents happen and that's where you can't get going. On the flat, well, you just have to muddle through. You know, I know that sounds funny, but that's how the highways sort of look at it.
I hear you, Stuart, but how the highways look at it and how it should be are probably two different things. Possibly. I think we as a parish council, I think we need to be open to helping people, and if we can put them in, we're not going to agree to them all, but I think I would encourage people to write into the parish council if they've got concerns, but at least let's be upfront and say we'll treat them, we'll take them on merit. Not everybody will get what they want, but we'll try to help where we can. Chris?
I've tried to find out what other places do, and one thing that comes through very clearly, and also relates to our budget, is that district authorities like High Peak Borough and county authorities like Derbyshire County Council have cut back a lot on things, and lots of parishes have moved up to the plate. Often they've raised their precept slightly to add extra facilities like grit bins, litter bins. So yes, everybody says X people have to pay for that. It's not a perfect world, and we wanted to do the best for this area, and sometimes it involves spending money, but also once they know we're thinking, you know, it's a snowball effect, and also we can look at getting some of these sponsored as well. You know, it to be sponsored before it goes in. We can get it done. You know, I'm sure if Fred Bloggs Limited will sponsor one of these, we will publicise it to our best of our ability, and so we should.
Yeah, well said, Chris. I mean, the other thing as well is, you know, when it comes down to cost, I do believe that Chinley Parish have got a rather favourable deal with Chapel DIY for their grit. So you know, if it becomes a matter of cost, maybe we can come up with can combine with neighbouring parishes and drive the cost of the purchase of grit down. You know, collective buying power. So that, I think we have to explore this. Well, I think what we need to do is as a group get together with all of the requests. You know, even if we have to pay a slight visit and discuss the merits. But what I would like to do is though, from a planning point of view, any further planning applications that we're asked to sit and discuss, maybe we as a parish council should be looking out for things like provision of grit bins and make that a recommendation for any agreements that we may come up with. I don't know if any of you feel that's the right way to go about it. Nigel?
Ruth George has written a good letter, and the thing that stands out to me from her letter is that there is a family with a disabled child. If we could have a look at that, drive down there, see whether it is an area that, you know, would benefit from a grit bin, I would be happy to you know, propose that would be one of the first sites that we do.
Has anyone got any objections to that?
Where is that?
Chris?
Outram Way.
All right.
Oh, sorry, I thought it might be another one that Kath's dealing with, but it isn't. Sorry.
Yeah, I have no objections, Nigel, to visit any of these sites as a committee or as a pair or whatever. But I think we have to be honest and say that we can't meet everybody's expectations, but that we are open to some. Sorry, Emma.
Can I just see that in terms of grit, we do get it from the winter scheme. We get a ton, and obviously, we have other grit as well. So I don't think that's always the issue is the amount of grit, is it? At the minute,
the issue isn't the amount of grit. The issue is how do we get it to the grit bin?
Because Phil does ones that are within Chapel on the tractor.
Yeah.
The other ones are the issue because all he's got is a tractor.
Yeah, I understand.
To deliver it. Now I know Chinley, she has this deal with Chapel DIY. However, they can't fill these grit bins up between January and March, apparently. So they do it initially, and then they can't top them up.
Yeah.
So
we do actually get our grit from Chapel DIY. We normally get about 5. We normally order 4 or 5 ton a year.
Right. Okay. What look, my point being is though, there are other places apart from Chapel DIY that we could perhaps approach. So I think just because Chapel DIY couldn't do it doesn't mean that we have to stop thinking how we can move this forward.
So no, just checking. So we're also going to get somebody to fill the bins.
Right. Okay. So if that's what we have to look for, then I think we need to visit that. Chris, I saw you had your hand up just before you had a jump.
I was going to say exactly the same as you, Jason. There are other places, and and some they'll have the specialities, and I'm sure we'll find somewhere if necessary. But I think we're only sort of committing to maybe a single fill in the autumn at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah. I don't think that we're going to visit every week, no. But so I think that we've got plenty to discuss. We are sympathetic to requests, but not all will be met, and we'll come back to you at the next meeting. Is that okay? Yeah. I think that one's done, is it? Number 8, please, Anna. Sports Pavilion.
Just it's for Phil to update you, really.
Please,
Where are you up to?
We've done the first stage of it. That's all finished now. The wall's up and it's all probably say it's safe. So I suppose the next stage is actually sorting the roof itself out. But obviously that's going to be a while yet because obviously it's weather and all the other factors involved and getting volunteers and stuff. But the first phase is finished.
Okay. Has anybody got anything they want to say to Phil?
No, other than it looks a lot better when you're walking down. You see it.
I mean, obviously it's got to have a coat of paint yet, so it looks a bit rough. But when we get a bit of good weather, we're going to paint it. We're going to paint it green, so it'll actually blend in with the surrounding area as well. So you won't actually notice it's there, I don't think, once it's been painted. Other than that.
Smashing out. Well, I've got a couple of questions, please, Phil, if you don't mind. What one is as a landlord, have we fulfilled our duties? And so we've now put everything that was unsafe right.
I mean, it still needs a new sheeting on the roof because it still leaks.
And what was that sheeting part of the did we agree to fund that in November, December, or is this an addition?
No, that's it was agreed the last meeting or the meeting before that.
Yeah, it was agreed at the last meeting that this is sort of 2 stages. So we would do what Phil's done now in stage 1, and then next year, which would obviously come from kind of April's money, I suppose. Well, this year it'll be, won't it? They'd do the roof.
Okay, Chris.
I know the bowling club applied for a grant. We were talking about paying 10% if they got the grant. Have they had that okay, that grant?
No, not quite yet. They've actually in the process at the moment of just trying to give them the final. They've just asked for a bit more information. That's all. I mean, Chris Jackson is a treasurer. He's actually dealing with that himself. So I spoke to him yesterday morning, actually, and he said it's still ongoing. He's done all the paperwork. It's all been sent off. They've asked for a bit more information off him, which he did yesterday. So hopefully, I mean, I don't know what the time frame is, how long these things take, but hopefully now they should have all the relevant information they need.
Okay, supplementary question, if I can. We were looking into also applying for a landfill grant because it's round here where it's concentrated and it's big amounts of money. I just wondered how far we got, because on checking that we would be eligible. I'm pretty certain we are eligible, but we seem to meet every criteria. But I just wondered where we got up to.
The one that you sent through to me?
Yes.
Yeah, we did check with that and we weren't allowed to have it because we were parish council.
Oh, it says parks and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think if you were like a Friends of the Park group, you wanted to apply for it or something like that, they would give it to you. And the thing we wanted it for was machinery, and it also said it wouldn't pay for machinery.
We'll talk about all sorts of stuff. We're talking about machinery because the football club got machinery. Obviously bowling club, part of what they're applying for is machinery under landfill tax and stuff like that. But one of the biggest, it gives about 5 criteria places, and public parks are one of the we're in the 5 criteria. War memorials and that are another criteria and stuff like that. But
so if I could just step in, Emma. So when we applied and you got the email back, what? So
no, we didn't put an full application in because we'd have to obviously you have to fill in the application saying what you want it for, this, that, and the other. I read the things that Chris sent through, and it said it was just for clubs and things like that, not for. Oops, I'm trying to get it up now. But
have we actually asked the people at the landfill because they're not far away?
I think when I was speaking to Sue, we've already asked them before for stuff. Let me have a look. Let me get it up.
I think what we found in the past is that it's easier for voluntary groups like Friends of the Park, for instance. It's easier for them to actually get hold of these grants than what it is the parish councils get.
So we need to get creative, but I'm sure hopefully we'll find a way. Yeah,
I think it's something we need to continue exploring. And Phil, I did say I've got a second question.
Yeah.
The first question was, have we completed what we said we would? Secondly, the agreement was that we would provide all the materials and the Bowling Green members would provide the labour.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
And did that pan out, or have you done it?
Yeah, it did, yeah. I mean, there was 3 or 4 turned up. I've done a little bit of it. Obviously, I've done the bits that, they couldn't do themselves. Mainly, but I'd say they've pulled the weight and they've had quite a lot of input into it. Yeah.
Okay, so you're comfortable with their input, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, hopefully, when we actually come to do the second phase of it, which is replacing the sheeting on the top,
right?
I should imagine there'll be a lot more volunteers then than there was because obviously weather started to turn at the time and. As you know, I think when sort of maybe another couple of months when weather picks up a bit, I don't think it'll be a problem. I think we'll get plenty of people helping out.
So hopefully when the virus is gone and the bowling season starts, we'll be in a much better position.
Yeah, with any luck, yeah.
Thank you, Phil. Stuart?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you to Phil and to the bowling club for the work they've done so far, because I've obviously been and seen them digging it out and what they've been doing. And I'd just like to make this point as such, because of what we were talking about on Wednesday with the funding and trying to get funding, like with what Chris has said. Now we've got a wall there as such, once they've painted it and everything. if there was some hooks or whatever, there's no reason, I don't think, if we sorted it out properly, that we could have some advertisement on there that somebody could actually sponsor a tournament or something at the bowling club and actually bring some money in for us properly, because there's somewhere to put it. Because in with this, and I thank Phil for doing what was said, there was an extra bit put on the end of the wall, which means we've actually now put up the flagpole that was donated by somebody in Chapel for us to use within the park. We have now got an extra flagpole. They have actually put a flag up. It wants to check it all works and that, which it does. So it means that we can either fly a flag there for some reason, you know, whether it's the Queen's birthday or whatever, but also it would mean that if they got some sponsorship at the bowling club, they could actually have a bowling club flag that they could fly when they're there bowling. And, you know, it is beginning to look better. So I'd just like to say thank you. That was all on all that, and let people know.
Yeah, thank you, Stuart. Yeah, thank you, Phil. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'll be a fantastic job. And actually, Stuart, that fits nicely into Nigel's proposal on Tuesday surrounding the communications budget. Yep. So I think it's a fabulous idea. Thanks very much. Right, so we'll move on now to the number 9, which is the Memorial Park. And the first motion, there's lawnmower.
Yeah, I haven't been able to speak to Sue since you've had your budget meeting because she's not been here. In terms of how much is now going to be put in to the budget for mower this year.
Okay.
So I don't know what you lot discussed about equipment for the park.
Stuart?
The other night.
Well, regardless of all the discussions, and it's got to be ratified obviously at the February meeting about the money, but because of what monies we had already got in reserves towards a new, well, I know it says tractor fund, but we said it should be for not just the tractor, it should be for the mower, the trailer or whatever, and some of the money that has been bequeathed to the park and what we've got in the maintenance budget, because we were talking of only a mower that would be used in the park. I think you called it, did you call it a fairway mower on this one, Phil? I think we've got the money that we can actually go ahead and probably, because I know Phil had looked at some prices and we were looking not at a brand new one, we were looking at a second-hand one, which obviously is only sort of 3-4 years old, which would last a long while for us, as though, because we're not going out into the road and other places, that we actually had got the money that we could go ahead with sorting this out for the beginning of this year's mowing season, I think is where we're at.
Chris, have you got anything you want to add to that?
Yes, I was just looking up the landfill thing, and it actually, one of their case studies is a thank you from the parish council for paying for new pay equipment in their park.
Okay, noted. We'll look into that. Emma and I will look into that early this week, and we'll. Stuart.
Okay, I'll send you all the link.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Stuart, just on the mower. So, if we have the money in the budget, is everybody okay? By the way, with purchasing a second-hand mower that's 3 or 4 years old, and do we have a preference on just how second-hand the mower has to be? I mean, you know, we wouldn't want to go out there and buy one that's 6, 7, or 8 years old, would we, Phil?
No, but there is a big difference in cost, isn't there?
Well,
between the two.
So, have you got any ideas of cost, Phil?
Like I say, I mean, if we're looking at, it still depends on what we're actually looking at buying, doesn't it? I mean, if we're looking at maybe trying to get something like a fairway mower, just for the Memorial Park itself, it's hard to say. I mean, you're probably looking anywhere from something that's 10-year-old, which will be, you know, 13 grand. Something that's 4-year-old, you're looking at 25 grand. Right. You know, so it's quite a vast. What's the word? It's a lot. You know what I mean? It all depends on
I do understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying. Sorry, Phil, for interrupting, but Nigel, please.
Yeah, I think Phil's problem, I mean, forgive me, Phil, if this is incorrect. Phil's problem is that we're not prepared to pin down a price that we're prepared to spend.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's it. You see, don't get wrong, we can get a demo on virtually anything. They'll bring them and you can all come and have a look and, the way things are and whether it's the correct machine or anything. But I think I still need some sort of roundabout figure.
Right, okay.
And then I can actually go out hunting properly.
I'm hearing
because it's like a stab in the dark, isn't it? I mean, at the moment, I've seen some nice triple mowers there, which are roadworthy, for about 11,000, but they are quite old ones.
Phil, could I ask though, because I guess it would be difficult as a council to say, okay, we're going to give you £10,000, go and find something if that's going to restrict what you can do. I think perhaps what's best is it if you put together a kind of a wish list of what you need and try to lead us into the direction of the amount of money that we need to find to support you. I think that's the best way of moving this forward. Does anybody disagree with that? No? Is everyone okay with that? Stuart?
I was just going to say to move this forward, because we need to be getting on with this one, ready for getting it purchased and getting it here ready for the mowing season as such. And I'm not worried in myself whether it's a 3-gang mower, whether it's a fairway mower or whatever. But would it be more helpful to Phil in the respect of if we agreed here now as such, for argument's sake, can he find a mower that is suitable for the job probably at its youngest age possible, in the ballpark figure of between £15,000 and £20,000, and then we're giving him somewhere to aim at, to go at? How does that feel?
I think it's a fabulous suggestion, but I have really no idea how much these mowers cost. Before we move this forward, I just want to call Stella. Stella?
Yeah, I was just going to say, similar to Stuart, that can we make a decision and tell Phil how much we're willing to spend, and him, because he's the expert, he knows what to get and come back with a prize for a couple, and then he can choose. Because he needs to know how much we're willing to spend.
Yeah, that's fine. So has anybody got any objections to what Stuart's just suggested? Nigel?
My only objection is we are trying to hold back as much money as possible for, the obvious eventualities this year in the park.
I'm aware of that, yeah.
I know we need a mower, but there are only so many things that we can spend money on this year, and we've sort of got it in our head that the big project is going to be elsewhere.
In that case, then, could I suggest, as well, it's not actually as a temporary measure, but obviously a lot of people have been complaining about, the cut basically, and it doesn't look great. The other suggestion is to actually just go with a different deck on the front of the machine we've got and change the cut, so it doesn't look as, so it doesn't actually look as rough, really.
Yeah.
That's easily done. We could just get a flail mow for the front, which will be about 5,500. And keep the actual machine that we've got now. Because the actual engine itself there's nothing wrong with it.
Right, okay.
You know what I mean? It's the actual cut of the machine at the moment. So that's another suggestion. If you want to earmark most of the money we've got available for other projects, then at least if we just spend the 5,000, the 5,500, just change the cut of just change the front deck, and then at least it's not going to look as messy as what it does now. One suggestion, then maybe Because I mean, that machine will probably, the actual machine itself, I think we've probably got at least another couple of years in the actual machine itself. You know, it's just the actual deck on it which makes the grass look rough.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. The problem with that, though, Phil, is my concern is that we replaced a 12-foot mower with a 4-foot mower. It's your time, really, isn't it? You know, in terms of it's tying into that mower, isn't it, at 4 foot? Does the flail that you suggest give you a wider cut?
No, it's the same. It's the same with cut.
Right.
The same with cut. I think one. You see, sometimes if it really does, you know, if it looks really rough, I mean, we do go over it again. You know what I mean? I mean, I know it sounds a bit daft. If you go up to Dove's, for instance, and cut the football pitch there, I mean, some days it looks rough as hell. You know, so what we do is we cut it the opposite way, just to try and disperse the grass out more, if you know what I mean. So it doesn't look out. Okay,
right. Okay, thank you, Phil. Chris, then Stella.
The flail cut does. I've looked at that. The flail cut does look impressive, and also it is very resistant to foreign objects getting into it as well, like stones and stuff like that, and cans. And I think what Phil is saying is, as a default backup, brilliant. But I think we should really, what Nigel says, and possibilities of money indeed elsewhere. Yes, it's horrible cut at the moment, but we've probably got a bit more time in it. But if we get some grant funding, and then it would, if you know what I mean, if we can sort of follow for these.
I do hear what you're saying, Chris. Yeah, okay, Phil. One more from you, Stella, on this, and then we'll.
No, I just wondered how much. I mean, when we did the budget the other day, didn't we have 5,000 or 6,000 anyway for the tractor and everything put away? Because we've got that money anyway.
Yeah, we do normally have money, for the tractor.
And then we added, and I think we added some, and also that bequeathment money that we said we'd use for the benches and the picnic benches. It's not going to cost all that. Is it worth putting a bit of that in? So it's not actually coming out of our other funds. It's coming out. I don't know. I just think Bill needs the equipment to do a good job.
Yeah, it's a good point, Stella. Good point. Sure.
Just one last one. That's why I'd said, could we look at, say, the 15 grand mark to buy another vehicle? Because in with that, with having more than one park keeper as such, in the respect, you could actually have one mowing in the park while one's mowing up at Dove Holes. You know what I mean? You're utilising your men better with what you were asking about time on that one, Jason. So that's what I'm just saying. That's why I'm making a suggestion of about 15 grand to buy another vehicle.
Right. Well, my own preference would be that we would buy Phil the right machinery for the right role. However, I am conscious of what Nigel and Chris have both said. So I think to move this forward now, who wants to make a motion that we go for the flailer rather than the new one? And let's have a vote on it. And I think I would like to add before we have the vote that I would consider this to be a temporary option, purely and simply because of the headwinds that we've got potentially in the park this year, and that we really need to revisit this again as soon as we're in the clear. So would anyone like to, Nigel?
I'll propose it, that we go for the flail, 5.5 grand set aside for it.
Can I propose an amendment, please?
Yeah, certainly.
But first we take a month to find out grant funding possibilities.
Okay, so the motion is then we'll apply for a grant first. If we're not back on the grant, then the default would be to go for the flail 5,500. Yeah, so that's the motion. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, with that. Right. All those in favour?
Well, it's better than not having anything. So I'd rather have a new one, but.
Okay, that's 3-4. Emma. So that's carried. Stuart?
Well, I was just going to say I was going to propose that we go for the one like the second hand one that's sort of about 7 or 8 year old and spend the money and go that way. But obviously,
Well,
I'll vote against it.
I do hear you, Stuart, but there'd only be 2 of us.
I know.
So that motion's going right. Okay, Phil. So we'll inquire. However, Stuart, it is not dead in the water, because if a grant becomes available, we can still go down that road anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you okay with that, Emma? So we can try that this week as well, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
What we need to do is look at all the grants, don't we, to try and get the money.
Yes.
I prefer that I'd set a better model for him.
Thank you. CCTV.
Oh yeah, that's me. Just to report back that I have made 3 applications now to Electricity Northwest and had absolutely nothing back off him at all. And I've also managed to get a number off Harold, but the number that he has is just to give some sort of meter readings. But I tried that out of sort of desperation, had nowhere. But I've also emailed somebody else I know who may have a contact at Electricity Northwest, but I only emailed him yesterday. I've not had anything back. I don't know if any of you know a way of getting hold of him, because they are just completely and utterly ignoring me in terms of trying to get the survey done that you wanted.
Stuart, have you got any strings you could pull up, Borough?
No, because electric doesn't come under planning or whatever at all. I'm just trying to think. I'm surprised that we haven't been able to get hold of them.
You have to do everything online. There's literally no numbers. I filled in 3 full application forms, sent them in, and I've heard nothing from them at all.
The only one I will say on this, Jason, is if we've filled in forms and everything and not had replies and what have you, do we have a recourse to the electricity company in the respect of, they haven't replied to us in a certain timescale? Like, we have to reply to people.
It's a fair point. Nigel?
Yeah. My only point on this was that we've got, 40,000 earmarked for CCTV. There's money in the pot. It's just a matter of getting someone in to start the project.
Which is difficult if you're not communicating back. Chris, have you got any experience in this matter? Dealing with an electrician? Have you got anyone we could lean on in the electric board?
Oh, no, it's frustrating. Have we got any even acknowledgement in writing?
No, you literally have to go onto their website. You complete an online form that you have to submit, and then that's it. There's no phone numbers. There's no email addresses. It's ridiculous. I have emailed Mike Evanson actually. And he's quite good. So if he's got a contact, he'll get back to me with it. But I mean, like I said, I've rung the number that Harold gave me, but he did say he didn't think I'd get anywhere with it because it's kind of just for them to submit some sort of readings. So nobody actually answers the phone. It's very annoying.
Okay, well, we won't debate it here now today. So we'll have to make some further inquiries. This will have to be an ongoing project.
Yes, if anybody has any ideas, just email it to me.
Okay, no problem. Right, park bench relocation sites. Nigel.
Yeah, we've got a complaint later in the correspondence. So I was just wondering whether I could just mention it here and then we could deal with them all together.
I would have no objection. Are you okay with that, Emma?
Yeah, it's fine.
So we had an email from David Howe, and he sent me another email this morning where he just added more details to what he'd already said, and mentioned that one of the new sites that we're putting a new bench is at the entrance by the Bowling Green Lane. He says that he sees that as a strange choice, given that we're now padlocking that gate. Now, I told him that I'd express his views in this meeting, but I do think that hopefully the locking of that gate at night will make this a suitable choice during the day, and will not become a problem. But of course, I think what we've shown over the last few months is that if benches become a focus of antisocial behaviour, we're prepared to do something about it. But it's very difficult to predict which benches are going to be the problem. But his main concern, I think, was the bench, which is obviously we took away the skate park shelter and the bench along our boundary fence next to another of the neighbours, and now we're putting a bench sort of halfway between those two, and he sees that as being a future site of antisocial behaviour. So I wanted to make his points for him because he couldn't be here.
Thank you, Nigel. Anybody, Stella, you okay?
Yeah, I was just going to say, the trouble is not going to make everyone happy. That with the reason that seat was chosen opposite his house is because it was for parents and grandparents when they want to sit and watch the children if they're in both parks, and if they've got a buggy, they can put the buggy next to it. If they've got a baby in the buggy. Other than that, I mean, I think just see how it goes, and if it does cause problems, we'll have to look at moving it. But just ask him to give it a chance and see. Plus, it's very near the road, so there's less likely to be antisocial behaviour near the road.
Thank you, Sharon. I've seen you, but Chris has got his hand up first, and then you, please, Stuart.
Okay. Well, Stella's taken a lot of the wind out of my sails, and also I'm basically agreeing 100% with Nigel and Stella, and also probably through the chair, I could ask Phil a question. If we put this in, which is already a lot of preparation work being done, and in 2 months' time, we said, not working, Phil, please take it out. Would you talk to us again, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, we've actually put the concrete pad down already because I have spoken to Mr. Howe about it. Now, it's not a problem, it's not a problem moving any bench anywhere, really. It's quite a simple job. I think I did explain to him that it's there because it is near to the fence. So if there is any antisocial behaviour, then the police can actually get to them. That's why we, obviously it was decided to put one there. But yeah, I mean, I think really for now, the best thing to do is for me, because I've not actually put it there yet. The concrete pad's there, but I've not actually put a bench there in situ. And this is the reason why I've not done it, because obviously I knew this was going to come up in the meeting.
Thank you, Phil. Stuart?
Yeah, I'd just like to add quite a few things to this as such because of history and the thoughts and what people have said to us. The part about the Bowling Green Lane seat, the two seats there were for what Nigel said exactly, people in the daytime, because as Chris and myself had both said with parents and other people in the past, that place actually gets the sunshine in the afternoon and they like sitting there. As such, there is not definitely the fact that gate is always going to be locked anyway. That was only on a temporary trial to see how things were going to go. The other thing was we've had representations from different people and we worked out the criteria that we needed the benches near the gates, whether that people are coming in, like Stella has just said, with parents and toddlers, and that it doesn't matter which gate hole you're coming in at. Once they let the kids, I know people let the dogs roam free, but once they let the kids roam free as well, which is a safe space within the park, they like a congregating place by the park entrance or exit, whichever you like to say, to put the kids back in the prams or on the reins or put the wellies on or get them back in the coats and everything before they walk home. There is the elderly people who have also who do walk the dogs, albeit on leads, have said that they like to sit down before they either do the exercise with the dog or leave and after the exercise before they leave. That's why they like them near to the gates. So there is a reason for all of this, why we've chosen where we've chosen. And I think I would like to go down the lines of more like Stella's said, and well, you both said there, in the respect of, can we try them first and see what problems it does bring? Because the 2 points for Phil's point of view here is, whilst he's doing things, we're talking about the weather and everything. We've chosen a lot of sites. He needs to put the bases in ready to be able to do it. We did also say when the benches go in, which aren't seats, which are more like picnic benches, that hopefully that would be where people would be able to sit, etc. We've already spoken about grit bins, and I know we spoke at the budget meeting about rubbish bins in the respect of how well the flying one is being used down at Morrison's, where the seats are on the roundabout. With these picnic benches and these bench sites that we are intending using, there probably is a case in the future that we could actually put some more rubbish bins in the park as well as more benches to make life sensible for the people who are using it and easier for Phil to actually clear up and sort out if we've got more benches around the park. So I think we've got to try them and see. As you say, they're not set in stone. That as long as we've got the pads there, we can put them down, move them away, bring them back, depending on what's going on. And it gives us hard standing if we wish to put some bins there, or if people wish to park a buggy there or whatever. They were not wasting them.
Yeah, thank you, Stuart. Nigel?
Yeah, he did also make one more suggestion, which was another potential position for a bench, which was between the bandstand and the children's playground.
Yeah, thank you, Nigel. I think we have discussed a number of other options. I have actually, I was intending to, Mr. L wrote to me as well, and I said I would discuss it with you all. And my take on it, if you like, is that as you have all alluded to, that if we put these benches in and they become a problem, that we have to face up to the reality that we might have to move the odd bench. We might not get it right immediately, but again, I think this is some way proving that we are a listening council. We're not a dictatorship. We're open to ideas. I think what I'd like to do is to write back to Mr. Howe and say, we're going to continue, but with the proviso that if it does become an issue, we'll look to take action later on. Has anybody got any objections to that? Nigel?
So I've told him that I'll record this meeting and send him the link. So I don't think you need to write to him.
Okay, smashing. So are we in agreement then that we'd like to continue with the placing of that bench in that area, but we are open to moving it if it does become an issue? Are we okay? Yeah. Well, yeah. Are we okay, Stuart? Yeah. And are you okay with that then, Phil?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Jason, before you move, sorry. Can I just ask Phil one question? When we all walked round and me and Emma said you could do with some flags or concrete by the gate as you walk into the play area where the young uns go to put the buggies. Are you looking into that?
Yeah, that's on me jobs to do list.
All right, that's okay. Sorry, I know you've got a million jobs.
Yeah, to be fair, the only reason why we've not actually started doing it is just purely because of the weather.
Yeah, and then I went the other day with my grandson, and it's hard work.
We have actually done 3 of the benches so far.
Notice the bench. As long as
it will get done. So hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah. Because also when I went round the park, sorry Jason, I'm going on, and went round all the parks in the parish, I looked at the Dub Holes one, and that could do with similar as you walk in the gate, because you have to go through a load of mud and then you can get on the swings and that. If you just had a couple of flags there, then that would make it easier for the buggies and that to get in the park. But that's actually going into the gate.
That was where I was going to come from, Stella, because I'd had somebody from Dove had asked me about that, because obviously my daughter and my grandson granddaughter and friends who are using Dove as well as Chapel. That was why I brought that one up about Chapel and about the parking the buggies for the kids and the bikes and that to get in and out. We do need to do a bit of hard standing for them. So
Yeah.
I
Is
think
that
we
something
can
you
look
could
at
look
that.
at, Phil?
Yeah, no
But all
problem.
the others, I mean, all the others have, I went round them all before this meeting and they're all in really good condition. And that's the only thing I could suggest we needed to do, put a bit of hard standing when the buggies actually go in the park at Dove.
Thank you very much. Have we got anything else we want to discuss around the benches?
Can I just check with you? I sent you the link out for these, the picnic benches and whatnot.
Yeah.
So are you actually going to purchase these yet, or are we just going to, I don't know.
Yeah, Stuart.
Well, can I go back to what we were saying earlier in respect to the budget meeting and what the lady has bequeathed the money to be used in the park? We did agree that the money was to be used in the park, and we did agree that these picnic benches would be bought and would be situated where we said, and that we got the money there to actually buy these benches and get on and do the job.
All right, sorry, I just wasn't at the budget meeting, so I didn't know. But
No.
Are you happy to go with that company, or do you want me to get some different sort of prices? And which ones how many do you want that are disabled, or do you want just maybe the one? Or...
I don't remember the email, I'll admit, Emma.
I'll send it again, yeah, if you want.
Chris, please. Are you muted, Chris?
Yep.
You muted again, Chris.
You're muted, Chris.
Quick question for Emma. You sent me an email asking for a link, but I think after the email's crossed, I sent you the link at the same time you was asking me for it.
Oh, right, okay.
I just want to check you've got it, that's all, then I can...
Yeah, I got it.
Right, okay, so I guess we're all going to just have a look at this email, and then we'll get our heads together and we'll come up with how many we need to buy, how many disabled. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, so Emma, you're going to send us a new email, and then we can all get back to you in the next 5 days, and then you can order the ones, yeah?
Well, this is what I'm saying. Are you okay to use that company? We've obviously used them before for the one that's at Coombs, or do you need 3 sort of prices to compare?
Is that the recycled plastic one, Emma?
Yeah.
No, I like them.
Any objections, Chris?
How much? I've no objection to that, but we will have to get some of the ones with the Parish logo on. I just wondered how much they were, or because those will be into the mix.
Oh, Sue was looking into that one. It's a certain company that fabricates the ends, isn't it? So I'll have to ask if she's heard of them.
If I just may say, Jason, when we had our walk round, we said we'd like as best possible for them to match, to make things look right in the park.
Absolutely.
And I would propose that for the picnic benches and the benches that we can use that are disabled friendly, as you might say, that are these recycled plastic ones, that yes, we use that company because we know it's heavy and it's hard wearing that's been put in at Coombs, so we can have things that match and we can get more of those. And the second part is to do with the other benches that have the ends with our logo in. Sue was trying to find out, because the gentleman who'd done the Market Cenotaph posts and railings has moved, the company's moved, and they were just checking whether they'd still got our our motif to be able to cast. So I don't know where she's at with that at the moment, so I can't actually fully answer you that one.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. Right, okay, well, I'll touch base with Sue and Emma about that again this week. Okay, Emma, so I think that does the park bench relocation sites. Correspondence now, please, Emma.
Bear with me. Right, we've had, obviously we've already done the one off Mr. House, so we'll pass that one. I also sent you a copy of something we'd had off a gentleman regarding the locking of those gates up at Bowling Green Lane. So he's obviously come to cut through the park to work. Obviously the gates are locked. And that was 5:30, but I don't know. Do you want me to respond to him and say it's a temporary measure? I don't know.
one moment, Emma. I will come back to you in a minute. Nigel?
Can I recommend that we write to him and explain that it's to solve an antisocial behaviour problem?
Yeah, that's where I was coming from. Chris?
I agree with all of that, but we both, was it 3 months, 6 months we voted for it?
6.
Okay, now, I'm feeling that I think it was something we've not had in previous years, I think, and also it was probably very winter based. Now, my thoughts were that it's in the 6 months off, sorry, expires, reopen them and then monitor it, and then, if you know what I mean, and see how it goes, because I don't think they've had, it's something that's just happened. I think it's just some people who've decided just to hang around that area for a temporary, like.
Can I just? I want to put something to you. It's a really good point you make there, Chris. And whilst we did agree that we would have it locked for 6 months, is it worth a letter to the lady that we were dealing with and saying, has the situation improved any? And does it have to be the 6 months? Could it be opened up earlier? Nigel?
Yeah, I think before we do start unlocking it at night, we do need to keep her informed, because if we do it, then she's going to be angry.
Oh yeah, no.
And I think also we need to explain to her that if the problem reappears, we will be quick to find another solution.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree, 100%. Yeah, like I said to you, right to if the situation has improved, let's have a look at ending the 6 months early. If it hasn't, we're as we are, and then we move on from there. Sure.
Just in with that, because I fully agree with asking the lady how things have gone, but obviously she was in contact with the PCSO and the police. Would it be wise asking Karen as the PCSO, has that made a difference to their response or whatever they've had to deal with? Because that was part of it. It was all to do with antisocial behaviour and vandalism, wasn't it?
It was. I'll take that up and I'll talk to PCSO Green.
You're going to be very busy, Jason.
Pardon?
You're going to be very busy next week.
At the beginning of the meeting, Stella, you said you offered your assistance, so we'll correct that. You're going to be very busy.
Can I just ask, has somebody got any details for that lady?
Yeah, I'll email them to you.
Right, thank you.
Well, if it's that, can I just say, Dave? Sorry, if it works out that it has calmed down a bit, would it be worth looking at opening it and going with the summertime? Like the changing back of the clocks and that. So, because it's obviously when it's early dark nights.
I think what we do is we test the water, we see what the situation is like, and then we make a decision from there. Yeah. Inform. Any others?
There's just one more, which is a request for a memorial tree, which you did agree that obviously memorial trees are something that the council will happily have in the park. Now, the lady unfortunately asked for a magnolia, which isn't a native English tree. But Phil, I did obviously run this by Phil, and he suggested, as there's already a row of cherry trees, and we've just put a new cherry tree there, which was the one from last time, should we just continue with maybe just making that, I don't know, the place for them?
I don't know if you remember from the last meeting that we had with the COVID snake and what have you. We sort of did agree that if we told people to actually want a tree, the best thing it'd have to be a cherry tree, because then we can form that avenue down that path leading to the COVID garden. There is, we have actually planted a new hedge there, and the first cherry tree, which was agreed on, that's gone in as well. If anybody does want a memorial tree, can I just suggest to people that it'd be great if it could be a cherry tree, and then we could extend the avenue down the path.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Right, okay, so all four of you I've got your hands up, so we'll go ladies first. Stuart?
I love you too, Jason.
Chairman Young, please carry on. It was only a joke, please. Go on, Stuart.
I was just going to say, I was going to propose what Phil said there and what was being said, because we know there's some other people who want to put memorial trees in and have been waiting while we sort this out. It was one of the places that when he's put the hedge in and everything with these trees and the COVID state, it was where there was going to be a bench, because we said it was going to be sort of for quiet remembrance or whatever. And I fully don't like a load of different trees or whatever. I think it's a very nice idea to do all the same. And if Phil's happy to do it that way, and it's being done with his say so and where they're going, we've got the other advert from the people that we can get some plaques to say what those trees are. We can actually expand on this. And I'd like to propose that we go ahead and carry on with Phil's proposal here of what we're doing for that.
Yeah, okay, so there's three more. Stella, Nigel, Chris.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same as Phil, a cherry tree. I think she chose magnolia because it's obviously one of Holly's favourites, but I think if she can have a plaque on a cherry tree, and if we can, because we're going to have a memorial park, and this year we'll probably get more requests because of the deaths of the COVID. So I think I think we should do it basically.
Thank you.
Put a tree there.
Thanks, Stella. Noted. Nigel.
I've got 2 points really. The first is that I'm not particularly sure that magnolias are fully hardy in chaff. You don't see many of them around. And I think that's because they might die off when they're young. I mean, if you drive down Disley Wood, they're everywhere, but you know it's several degrees warmer. The second is, should we give her a choice between a cherry tree in this avenue that we're putting together, or a deciduous broadleaf native somewhere else in the park?
I actually like that idea a lot.
I do.
Chris?
Yeah.
At first, I'd just like to say to Nigel, and we've got a magnolia bathroom suite, and it's lasted for years. It's fully hardy, Nigel. No, I've had a request that an oak tree, which someone locally, if they could plant that in the thing. It's a very good sapling, but a squirrel's hid a nut in a plant pot in their garden. It's grown. But I take it from this that this cherry tree, it sounds very good. But I'm understanding there's different types of cherry tree. How would we be supplying a standard sort of cherry tree, or would we be specifying it? Because I know from planting I've had to do myself is there's different types which grow different ways, different roots and all sorts. Maybe Phil will be able to answer that.
Yeah. Well, just sorry, Jason. Just a standard prunus cherry tree. They're all on the same rootstock, so.
No. Even standards, there's different ones. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, if we worry about that at the time.
Thanks, everybody. Now, there were two proposals there, one of which was my preferred one, which was as Nigel's, where we offer the opportunity of A or B, so a cherry tree or somewhere else in the park. Phil, would you have another site in the park where you were able to put a tree?
Well, there is one site already which you know, if you would like to buy, you know, a native tree, you know, an oak or something,
right?
Because the big ash tree is coming down in the middle of the park, so it'd be nice to replace that with something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it wouldn't cause you any problem. So, I'd like to propose that we accept Nigel's idea that we write back to the lady involved and say that we have got a preference. If you know, in one place you have a cherry tree, but in another place you could have a deciduous tree. Is that okay? And we all for that?
And
I would just
know that it's okay putting a plaque on it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Chris?
I was just going to say, Jason, I will change my proposal. I think for the future as well, because we want to do it as memorial and with plaques and whatever, I think we should have something written down that's either or for the future, and it's up to them and Phil to decide which and where we can put them. Great call, Stuart. That's exactly what we'll do then. Chris?
I'd just like to ask Phil, if this gentleman off this. It's not for a memorial. It's something that's just grown, but he says it's very good condition. If he dropped it off with Phil, could Phil find a use for it somewhere in the parish?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain we could. Yeah, you say it's an oak tree.
Sorry?
You say it's an oak.
Oak tree, a squirrel planted a nut. The plant tree is gone.
I'm pretty certain we can find a spot for it.
Okay, thank you. I'll give him your name, Phil.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Thank you all. So as we approach the end and we move to number 11, could I just ask if it's okay, Phil? Is there anything else that you would like to talk to the council about?
Not at the moment. Don't think so.
You've got no burning issues that you need support with, or?
No, not really. No.
Everything's okay?
Yeah.
Magic. Okay, right then. So, Emma, is there anything in for part 2?
Yeah, I think me and Phil want to just mention something to you, to be fair.
Right, okay. That's fine.
With regards to staffing, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, Emma. So before we move into part 2, can I just say thank you to the members of the parish that have spent the last 90 minutes listening to us waffle on. Hopefully, we'll see some fruits of the conversations in the very near future. And for them, the Amenities Committee meeting is over for today.
Okay. Let me just...